Survey reveals over 60% of U.S. gamers only purchase 1 or 2 games per year. And this is by Michael Haradintz at PSU.
Data from Circona's Q3 2025 Future Video Game Survey has revealed that the majority of gamers in the U.S. purchase only 1 to 2 games per year. The data shared by Matt Piscatella, Senior Director of Circa, reveals that 18% of gamers in the U.S. purchase a new video game about once every 6 months, with 12% buying a new game once a year. Meanwhile, the survey revealed that 33% of gamers purchase a new game less often than 1 title per year, resulting in a combined 63% of gamers purchasing 2 or fewer video games every 12 months. The Circona survey also revealed that a new game is purchased around once every 3 months by 22% of video game players in the U.S., with 10% stating they purchase a title roughly once per month. Only 4% of users purchase a game more than once per month. Piscatella commented that the gamers who fork out for 1 or more games per month after are largely responsible for, quote, keeping things going, especially in the non-free-to-play gaming space. And this seems down from, because I remember talking about this a few years ago, where the average gamer only buys like 3 to 4 or plays 3 to 4 video games on average per year. So that has been cut in half, over the course of the last couple of years. And that, they bring up a point about the free to play market. I do think freemium, as I call it, has a factor in that, because why pay 70, 80 or more dollars for a video game that you may or may not enjoy when there's they will charge you for stuff, but I mean, the point of entry is free. So it's like, hey, if I hate it, I can just not play it again, delete it and be gone. I didn't waste money on it, So it's like, when that is the point of entry, and that's kind of like the market takeover, like, why would you want to spend a buku? And like, with everything going up, we'll get to it in a minute. Like, even Game Pass is now becoming a point where it's like, you have to question, is like, is this justified in what I'm spending? I do think, like the hardest of the hardcore is the majority. And, I did bring up a point. This was like a different subject matter.
The minority?
The minority. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
And I did bring up a point a while back. It's like, well, what if one day the vocal minority in some aspects becomes the majority, and it's like, what if we end up becoming in the wrong, so to speak? And it's like, this is a different mindset, different subject matter. But it's like, people like you and me, I feel like I've played maybe about half a dozen games this year, and several of them were on Game Pass. Like, I didn't really pay extra for them. I mean, Yote is the first game I've actually bought since, oh God, I don't even know if I paid for another game earlier this year, honestly. But Yote, I know, is like in the last like 3 to 4 months, Yote has been the last game I bought, most recent game I bought. I think the last ones that we bought were Sparking Zero and Star Wars Outlaws and Astrobot.
Yeah, and Astrobot,
yeah, those were our purchases, and 2 out of those 3 were duds. But that goes to my point. It's like, when you make mediocre games, like, you have to spend, games are more expensive than ever now. It's like, you have to really budget your time and your wallet. Like, what are your thoughts on this, Zach? Is like, does this kind of like, are you not surprised in a sense, or are you kind of like astounded by how like little, like the hardest of hardcore gamers are now?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily hardcore people. It's more of just like everybody, the 63% that it talks about in this article, that most people don't have the finances. Games have gotten more expensive. Like you said, we went from, back in the day where a game was $30, and then it went to $50, and then it went to $60, and then we're now at $70, $80 for some of them.
Yep.
And I'm sure this is not taken into consideration like subscription services like Game Pass or Ubisoft Plus or EA Play or whatever, where you can play a plethora of games for in a subscription. This is actually buying a game, and I feel like people are more apt to do the subscription model because of Netflix, HBO, and all of these things.
We're just indoctrinated into that mindset.
Yeah, and it has been until now. We'll talk about it more in, you know, two stories, but like Game Pass was the best deal in gaming, and it was just like, man, I get to play all these first party games and great third party games and indie games. Because I look at this year, majority of the titles that I've played has been on Game Pass. Doom the Dark Ages, Clair Obscura, even a little bit of Silk Song, The Altars,
South of Midnight,
Avowed, Oblivion Remastered. You know, it's just been like Xbox has been really on the uptake right now, but that's not taking into consideration I know a lot of people will go and buy that game from Game Pass. They've talked about that,
right?
But I know I only buy it has to be a really good game for me to want to buy it.
Correct.
That is just the truth. It has to be a really good game that I've been wanting, and I'm sure a lot of people are feeling that way. And Amy comments down here, she's like, buying one or two sounds realistic and not the overcompensation that the industry pushes. Because, dude, I remember back in like 2016, where I was literally buying almost every title that was coming out. Trying to keep up with it, trying to make videos, all of this kind of stuff. I was blowing money left and right, you know. Past Zach was an idiot. But I say all of that to say this is that the industry does push you to like, oh, the next big thing, FOMO. And
E3 was the crux of everyone, you know, and now Summer Game Fest and Game Awards are kind of that same way. It's like they push not an agenda is not the right term, but they do basically show you it's like, hey, these are the next big things coming out. Don't miss out on them if you want to be part of the conversation.
Exactly. And when I think about that, it's like that time in gaming for me until I slowed down wasn't very enjoyable. Like I wasn't playing the game to play the game and enjoy it. I was just playing it so I could talk about it. And I wasn't getting any of that for free. Like nobody's doing that. You know what I mean? Unless they've got tons of like just luxury money, you know, just to throw out there, because this is a hobby when it comes down to it. This is a hobby. It's something to blow off steam for a lot of people. It's something to, you know,
distract us from real world issues.
Yeah, it's that's what it is. And when you look at this, games have gotten more expensive, all these subscription models, and this is the thing, there's still layoffs. Even though they're making more money than ever, there's still layoffs. And
I literally have in the quick hits, like I think another layoff like thing and another studio closed. So
yeah, and it's like, okay, yeah, we're buying less because everything's more expensive, but you are making more money. Yeah, like some games are costing more, but it's just kind of crazy to see how things have been shaped with the greed of the industry compared to what the consumer is, because none of this is consumer like friendly. Like even free to play stuff is not consumer friendly. It's all about trying to get as much juice out of the fruit, you know what I mean? And we're the fruit and we're getting squeezed hardcore. I want to take Michael's comment here. Michael says, kind of funny, talked about this and I disagreed with their take. They said gaming studios should focus on the ones buying games every month, but shouldn't they focus on the ones not buying? So there's two ways to think about this. Is you have an audience that's primed to buy, and it is in the smaller side of it. It's, you know, less than 40% of the market is willing to buy more games. You can focus on that and you are going to get a return. You need to start whittling down that 63%.
Yes.
But you can't just pick one or the other. It has to be, okay, we need Clair Obscura type games to get people where it's a smaller barrier to entry money wise. We need those kind of games to get that 63% to actually buy games, compared to, all right, we just got to get $80 out of these people. We got to get $80. Not everybody's going to do that. They're going to go for something that is valuable, which Expedition 33, if you haven't played it, you need to play it just to experience what that, and then it's so deep, but you can't you can't pick one or the other, because if you
No.
just pick the 63%, you're not servicing the ones that are actually carrying the weight of buying these games. And then if you focus the other side, you're going to have people buying one game a year or less.
Right.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword there.
It is. And, to his last point about it is like, shouldn't they focus on the ones not buying? Yes and no. Like, yes, they should find a way to get those part of that 63% to maybe buy another game or two here and there. Right. But at the end of but the point of like, not really, is the people who are on a budget are still going to be on that budget. Like,
Yep.
unless they just come into a bonus, a promotion that allows them to have more, spending money, they're still only going to buy what's within their budget. And if they can only afford 2 games a year to really buy, they're still only going to buy 2 games to buy. So that's not going to move the needle. Now, I'd like to know, of that 63% of gamers who have the budget that only choose to spend their time with 1 or 2 games, that'd be, a little bit deeper take, but that'd also be harder to like survey to an extent, or like that'd be too much down a rabbit hole. But if a lot of that 63% are people's with expenditure money that they can just throw out whenever, and they're not worried about how figuring out how to eat, then yes, I agree with that part. Like, push more to them to get that 40% up. But I agree with your take 100%. It's like, you got to find a way to meet in the middle where it's still appealing to that 40% who is the minority right now, who is like the ones who are just buying day one games and just buying like the latest new things, but also how to figure out how to dwindle that 63% down to get it to be more of the majority.
Yeah, it like trying to get it up to like a 50-50 split would be huge when you think about it, because gaming has become such a big thing, and free to play is definitely taking a lot of that. And like, you look at Fortnite, you look at GTA, it's like those are well, I guess GTA's free. Like, sometimes it goes
online,
yeah. But it's like Warzone, like all of these things are free, but they're making buku of money, and they're not going to be counted in this survey for that.
Right.
And one of the things that popped in my head as you were talking, Derek, is that we have gotten bigger and bigger games as well. That's been an industry's trend, where the maps are bigger, the stories are bigger, that's more hours into it. Ghost of Yotei could be like 80 plus hours if you do everything.
Right.
And when you think about that, like, I played Ghost of Tsushima for like 2 years.
Yes, you did.
And
that was mainly because of your job, but also, yes, because you wanted to experience everything that world had to offer.
Yeah. Everything that I could do and just try and just enjoy that world, because I wasn't making a ton of money at that point. I wasn't, financially like able to just go and splurge and all of that. But also, I really enjoyed that game. I really wanted to see everything in that thing. And it's like, you look at these big standalone games, God of War, Ragnarok, like, it's just, there's so much to do. Avowed, like, if somebody really loved Avowed, they could be playing that for a really long time.
I remember Odyssey, I don't know how many hours it would clock out. It would clock at, but I remember putting an easy 250 hours into that game, just doing everything, because that world was done so well.
Yeah, and same thing with Skyrim. I know I had 400 plus hours in Skyrim back in 2010, 2011, whenever it came out. And it's like, when you look at that, and that's the trend, is like bigger, better games, more depth story, more options to play. And it's like, you can't expect somebody to, okay, I'm playing Avowed, and then Oblivion comes out right after that, and then Clair Obscur comes out right after, like the same week. It's just like
Doom: The Dark Ages.
Yeah, it's just like, there's so much inundated where you can't just hop from one game to another when you have a full-time job that's not in the gaming industry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that brings me to Amy's point. How much are influencers getting games for free? Like, if you think about all of this, like, anybody that's in like the gaming industry that's like full-time, they've got contacts. They're getting, and they will say when they've gotten the game for free type deal. But if you look at that, it's like, that's their whole thing. They want new games because they need stuff to talk about.
Yep.
You know, they need stuff to keep being pushed and all of that.
They want content to come to their channels.
Yeah, and you look at the people that play like a free to play game or whatever, like people that play Warzone, they're always like, "Oh, we need a new map," or "Oh, we need a new season," because they've squeezed it dry, you know, by playing it 8 hours a day compared to somebody that plays, you know, bigger open world games that are story based and everything. Like, you get a lot more time out of it.
Correct.
So I'm not surprised that people are buying less games just because of how expensive the hobby has become, where, you know, you look at the movie industry, you look at even books are way more expensive, but like movies and all of that, like it's movies, TV shows are a little bit cheaper of a medium to get into. And you can still, like, there's so much available. You can go get DVDs from a thrift store or whatever. Like there's different ways to get the medium a lot easier on that side compared to games. And, you know, if no more games got made, like if Yote was the last game that came out, there's so much to play. Yeah. When you really think about it, like the FOMO is real, y'all.
Yeah.
The FOMO is real. And Amy says, I definitely feel this in relation to books. Yeah. It's just constantly like, it's the churn. And a lot of it is the publishers. They're wanting to get their games out there. They want people to buy it. And they use the people that influence to push that narrative.
Mm-hmm.